It came through at 10:42 p.m. on a Thursday. No buildup, no argument, just one line. I don't feel anything anymore. Please stop trying. I stared at the screen for maybe a minute. Then I read it again and again. You'd think after 9 years of marriage, something like that would come with a conversation, or at least eye contact. But that was it. A text message. Allison was in the bathroom brushing her teeth. She didn't even glance at me when she passed by, just walked straight to the guest room like she'd been doing more often lately. Door closed. Light off. End of chapter. I didn't follow. I didn't ask what she meant, and I sure as hell didn't reply. Instead, I just sat there on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, like someone had flipped a switch in my brain. Something in me went quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't panic. It calculates. Looking back, the signs were there. We hadn't really talked in weeks, not beyond dinner plans, bills, and the occasional comment about the weather. She used to laugh at my jokes. Now she barely heard them. She used to lean into me in bed. Now she stayed on the edge, back turned, like I was furniture. I told myself it was stress, work, burnout, maybe a slump. Every couple hits dry spells, right? That's what I believed, until that text. That wasn't a cry for help. It was a line in the sand. I could have walked in there and asked what the hell was going on. But something told me not to. Not yet. Not until I understood exactly what I was dealing with. So I stayed still, quiet, focused. And for the first time in our marriage, I decided to watch instead of speak. Because if she was done pretending, then so was I. The morning after the text, she acted like nothing had happened. She poured herself coffee, scrolled through her phone, and left for work wearing heels I hadn't seen in months. No mention of the message, no glance in my direction. Just, "Don't forget the trash goes out today," as if we were still teammates. I nodded, said nothing. That weekend, Allison said she had a strategy offsite for work. 2 nights, hotel booked by the company. I didn't ask questions. I just watched her pack a dress that had no business being near a spreadsheet. By Sunday night, I had a list. Not a physical one, not yet, but in my head. Patterns, shifts, red flags. It wasn't paranoia. It was process. She used to come home around 6. Now it was closer to 8, sometimes 9. She used to leave her phone charging on the kitchen counter. Now it followed her room to room like a lifeline. And then came the name, John. She mentioned him once, casually. John from marketing said that client's a nightmare. I nodded. John? New hire? She sipped her wine. Yeah, tall guy, super smart. That's it. One drop. But it landed. On Tuesday, I saw her laughing on the phone outside in the backyard, her voice soft and low. She didn't know I was in the upstairs hallway, watching through the window. She paced like a teenager, toe twisting into the grass, giggling at whatever he said. On Friday, I ran into Allison's coworker, Priya, at the grocery store. We chatted, friendly stuff. Then she said something that stopped me cold. Tell Allison I loved her dress the other night. That gallery opening was incredible. I blinked. Gallery? Yeah, she and John came late, but still. Great night. I nodded slowly. I'll let her know. Allison had told me she was working late that night. Conference call, deadline, nothing social. That's when I knew. Not just suspected. Knew. But I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to accuse or beg. That would give her power. No, I was going to keep watching. Quietly. Thoroughly. Because if she thought I was just going to roll over and play the fool, she didn't know me at all. The break came 2 weeks later, by accident. She left her phone on the nightstand. That never happened. She was in the shower. I heard the water running, and something in my gut said, now. I walked over and picked up her phone. She'd changed the old password a while back. Probably thought I didn't notice. But I had. I'd seen the new one over her shoulder 2 weeks earlier. I unlocked it. Messages open. It was him, John. Not work banter. Not emojis or gifs. Just words. I wish I could have stayed longer last night. You looked amazing. Her reply, same. I hated going home. My thumb hovered. I shouldn't have read more. But I did. He doesn't even ask anymore. It's like living with a ghost. Then stop haunting the place, he responded. She sent a laughing emoji. Then I scrolled up. There were photos. Blurry, dim lighting, but clear enough. Her in that red dress. Him with his arm around her. One shot of them in what looked like a hotel hallway. Kissing. My hands went still. I took screenshots of everything. The messages, the photos. Then I sent them to myself, deleted the outgoing texts, and closed every screen. When she came out of the bathroom, she didn't even look at me. Just towel-dried her hair and went straight into the guest room. Door closed. I didn't confront her, didn't raise my voice. I just sat on the edge of the bed, same spot I had the night of the text, and breathed. I had what I needed now. That was the moment something shifted. Not a snap or a rage, just a clean break. Like a bone that finally stops trying to heal crooked. I knew I wasn't going to fix this. She had already left, not physically but emotionally. She wasn't mine anymore. She'd given herself to whatever version of her John pulled out. And maybe that version hated me, or pitied me, or forgot I existed. Didn't matter. I was done chasing a ghost too. The next morning I got up early, went for a run, booked a meeting with a lawyer for later that week, started checking apartment listings during my lunch break, began sorting the shared bank accounts into a spreadsheet. I wasn't going to make a scene. I was going to make a clean exit. Because if she could check out and smile through it, I could check out and not look back. I didn't leave right away. That's not how I wanted this to play out. Instead, I shifted. Quietly. Precisely. I stopped asking where she was going or when she'd be back. No more, want anything from the store? No more casual affection, small talk, or shared routines. She noticed, not all at once, but it crept in. One morning she stared at her coffee cup, then looked at me and said, "You're really quiet lately." I smiled. "Just giving you space." She didn't reply. I hit the gym harder, ate cleaner, lost 8 pounds without mentioning it, bought new clothes that actually fit. I stayed late at work, sometimes at the office, sometimes not. I wasn't hiding. I was rebalancing. She came home one night with Thai takeout, something we used to do on Fridays. "I got your usual," she said, holding the bag out. I didn't move. "I already ate." Her hand stayed in the air a second too long before she dropped the bag on the counter. Right. We were becoming polite strangers, co-inhabitants, not lovers, not friends, just two people walking opposite directions in the same house. One evening her friend Naomi came by. I hadn't seen her in months. They sat in the living room with wine, whispering like teenagers. I nodded at Naomi as I passed through to the kitchen. On my way out, I caught just enough of the conversation to freeze mid-step. Naomi's voice was low but clear. "Have you told him anything yet?" Alison let out a small laugh. "What's there to tell? He's halfway out the door already." Naomi paused, then said, "Still, he's your husband." Alison shrugged. "For now." That last part landed harder than it should have, but I didn't react. I just walked upstairs, opened my laptop, and signed the lease for the short-term apartment I'd been eyeing. Later that night, I heard her laughing with Naomi again. I didn't care what was funny. I just kept packing boxes in my head. Because if she thought I was going to stay in that house long enough to watch her rewrite history, she underestimated the man she married. I didn't plan to run into him, but fate has a sense of humor. A client event, Thursday night, hotel ballroom, open bar, small talk with suits and overpriced appetizers. I turned toward the charcuterie table, and there he was, John, in a blue blazer, sipping whiskey like he belonged. I recognized him from the photos, the ones I found on her phone. I walked straight over. "John, right?" I said, holding out my hand. "Michael, Alison's husband." He hesitated just long enough to betray something. Guilt, panic, maybe both. Then he took my hand, gave a weak shake. "Oh, hey. Yeah, right. Michael." I didn't flinch. I didn't press. I didn't want him to suspect anything. Not yet. Not before the papers were signed. I still had moves to make, and I needed him off balance but unaware. So I played it cool. We made small talk for a minute. He asked what I did. I told him. I asked what department he worked in. He stammered something about marketing strategy. Then I leaned in just slightly and said, "Funny. Alison said you were smart. I expected someone more subtle." He blinked. "Excuse me?" I smiled. "No need. It won't matter soon." I left him standing there, confused, maybe nervous. I didn't need drama. I just needed to be seen. Let him go home wondering what I knew and what I was about to do. That night, Alison walked in late again, jacket over her arm, lipstick worn, hair freshly combed like she'd been somewhere nicer than work. "How was your day?" she asked. "Eventful," I said. She raised an eyebrow. "Work?" "Sort of. I saw John." She froze in the hallway. "Small world," I added. "He seemed surprised to see me." She tried to recover. "I didn't know he'd be there." I nodded once. "Doesn't matter." The air thickened between us. For once, she had nothing to say. I walked past her toward the kitchen. She spoke up, trying to sound casual. "You okay?" I didn't stop. "Better than you think." I meant every word. She didn't mention John again. Not the next day, not the one after. But the shift was obvious. She was watching me now. Where I went, what time I came home, whether I still wore my wedding ring. I didn't. Took it off the morning after the event. 3 days later, Alison came into the kitchen while I was making eggs. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You've been different," she said. "Yeah," I replied, cracking a shell. "I know." Her voice dipped. "Are you seeing someone?" I turned to face her. "Do you really want to talk about other people right now?" She blinked, caught off guard. No, I feel like, I don't know what's happening." I set the spatula down. "Then let me help you." I walked past her into my study, opened the drawer, pulled out 2 folders. The first one I handed her held the printed screenshots, the texts with John, the ones where she called me a ghost, the ones where he said, "Then stop haunting the place." Beneath those were the photos, hugging, kissing, that hotel hallway. She stared at them like they were written in a language she didn't want to understand. "You went through my phone?" she whispered. I shook my head slightly. "No, I just finally looked at what was already there. You left a trail, Alison. I followed it." Before she could speak, I handed her the second folder. Divorce papers. Her hand trembled when she opened it. She sat down slowly, eyes wide. "So what now? You want to fight? Yell?" I shook my head. "No need. The process has already started. The lawyer's waiting on your signature." Then I went upstairs, packed a bag, and walked out of that house without saying another word. Drove straight to the apartment I'd already leased. No calls, no forwarding address. That afternoon, I opened a new email. No subject, no message body. Just the screenshots, the photos, and a list of dates. I sent it to Alison's company, HR. They both lost their jobs by the end of the week. 2 weeks later, John dumped her. Told her it was too much. Moved to a different state. Clean break. She was alone. And then, one day, I got a message. "Can we talk? Just once?" I didn't respond at first, but I agreed. Eventually. I wasn't curious. I wasn't angry. I just wanted to hear what version of the story she'd finally settled on. We met at a cafe downtown. She wore a blazer, sunglasses she didn't take off, and a look that belonged to someone trying to glue themselves back together. "I miss you," she said. I nodded. "Okay. I made a mistake." "You made a series of them." She swallowed. "It didn't mean anything." "You crossed the line, Alison." "I didn't think it would go that far." "But it did." She looked down. "I thought you'd forgive me. I thought you'd give me a chance to fix it." I shook my head. "You weren't trying to fix anything. You were hoping I'd stay quiet while you tore it down." She looked away. No argument this time. "You wanted freedom," I said. "Now you've got it." Her voice cracked. "I didn't think you'd actually leave." "That was your mistake." We sat in silence for a while. She reached for my hand. I didn't move. "I'm sorry," she said. "I believe you. Doesn't change anything." Then I stood. "Take care of yourself, Alison." And I walked out. No explosion, no final goodbye. Just a man who'd finally remembered his worth. Thank you for watching.